Hello everyone, I'm Santiago, and today I'm gonna be testing for Honor on the GeForce GTX 1060, 6GB for FPS margin. This time I won't be using cam due to easy anti-cheat, the anti-cheat software solution this game uses. So in the meantime I'll be using MSI Afterburner instead. So for Honor I'll do 1080p, 1440p and 4K. To skip down to those sections of the video, check the description below. So first for 1080p I'm going to be doing the maximum settings, excepting super sampling anti-aliasing, and I'm getting 60 frames per second no problem. Then at 1440p I had to lower the settings a little bit in order to hit 60 frames per second, but the game was totally playable. Even at the maximum settings at 1440p I was over 30 frames per second. And finally at 4K it was difficult to hit 60 frames per second in this level in particular. On multiplayer it was possible at lower setting, but if you want a little more of an advantage over that, just overclock your GTX 1060. It won't be perfect, but it will be a boost in the frame rate, and then I'll just crank up the settings to hit 30 frames per second, and the game was totally playable. And now I'm going to tell you about some important things about the performance of the game, some information so you can tweak it yourself. So first of all I need to explain to you some things. It's about the level that I chose to play at. This is the mission, the third mission of the game, and I found this one to be very demanding. I tried pretty much all maps from multiplayer, and then I played some of the campaign and I came across this level. So in the multiplayer at the best I got like 60 to 70 frames per second. So using those settings that gave me 60 to 70 frames per second. In this level in particular it gave me 40 to 45 frames per second. Only playing this level, other single player missions didn't have this issue. So this is the worst case scenario as far as I'm concerned. So I'll show you three different configurations for the frame rate. When you see 45 frames per second, 40 to 45 frames per second in this level, I'm showing you the multiplayer 60 frames per second target. So if I'm getting 45 frames per second here, I'll be getting 60s at multiplayer. That's why I show you that. Then I'll show you the 60 frames per second all the time frame rate, which will be trying to get 60s here. That will mean over 70 frames per second on multiplayer. And finally I will target 30 frames per second, which 30 frames per second here means like 40 frames per second on multiplayer. Keep in mind that consoles run at 30 frames per second too. PlayStation 4 runs it at 1080p 30, and PS4 Pro runs it at 1440p at 30 frames per second too. So keep that in mind. And things that you should lower in order to get a better frame rate. First, dynamic shadows. If you lower them from extreme to high, you get a great FPS boost, and in this game you will always get a great FPS boost by lowering dynamic shadows. Then environmental detail, I suggest playing that on medium. It decreases the amount of grass and the sky quality, but it also uses displacement mapping on high. I suggest keeping that on medium. Then ambient occlusion, I suggest using HBAO plus if you want to have any ambient occlusion at all, since MHBAO sometimes has a lower frame rate. One other thing that you should turn off right away is dynamic reflections. Just turn it off. It's a great FPS boost, especially when it's raining. On anti-aliasing, I suggest using FXAA or SMAA. TAA works fine, but it's the biggest FPS hit from all the three options. And geometric detail, you should also lower that. It's pretty much the draw distance and the quality of the meshes. From extreme to high you won't notice much of a difference while playing the game, so I suggest lowering that too. Unless you have a very high-end GPU, don't turn on super sampling anti-aliasing. That's a huge FPS hit. And the texture quality, it seems that high is enough for 2GB video cards. But yeah guys, that's pretty much it. Just to sum up, this map runs much worse than multiplayer. So if I have 45 frames per second here, it means 60 on multiplayer, and I target 30, 45, which is 60 on multiplayer, and 60s on single player. Anyway guys, I hope you keep enjoying the video. Thanks for watching and see you next time.
I want to talk to some of these deserters. They were members of... We were going to have to fight our way out. of your own!
No supiste! ¡Ellos! Let's dance!
Something you want to talk about?
Not yet. Vikings!
Óvinurinn Undirbúið bardaga! Hérna koma þér! Out of Asheville!
Get back!
Ég bútaði!
This is over! It was time to remove the Viking threat.
Drepið varðinn!
I need to defeat their commander.
Þú deyrðin að hálkast! Drepið á! Náið þeim! Náið þeim! Þarna óvinurinn.
Berjist vel!
Die, Blackstone dog!
Serva á!
Non possumus! want to talk to some of these deserters. They were members. We were going to have to fight our way out.
Murderous dogs!
You're all a disgrace!
Come of your oaths!
Eos prehendit!
Vikings!
Out of asphalt!
Get back!
Óvinnin langar að berjast!
This is over! It was time to remove the Viking threat.
I thought Vikings were warriors.
I need to defeat their commander.
Þarna einhver! Sláðu ef þú þorir! Búið bardaga! Náið þeir! Fram á við! Þarna óvinurinn. Ég sé þetta.
Terrible armor! After you.
Die, Blackstone dog!
want to talk to some of these deserters. They were members. We were going to have to fight our way out. What has become of your oaths?
Ad mortem inimicus!
You're not Iron Legion.
Eos Inferno! Dishonorable swine! Eos Inferno!
You're on the same side!
Dios educite!
You're all a disgrace.